I think that makes a lot of sense. So we'll definitely get to your other products, but I
Yes.
think this is a nice time to pause and speak a little bit more about that concept that you mentioned, terroir,
Yes.
because you go to Austria to make your first product. Well, okay, you're in Europe. Europe is sort of the birthplace of terroir as we think about it. And
I would
every
say so.
country, Austria, Italy, France, Germany, we all have our own geographical indications and protected denominations of origin that stipulate things not only about process and sourcing, but also about geography. And so Europe does seem to me to be this place where invisible lines were born, where when you're on this side, you're in, some backwards ass grape vineyard, and you step over the line and suddenly you're in Champagne, like
Yes, exactly.
you're Blanc de
There's a
Blanc, Blanc de
wall.
Noir, and great,
Yeah.
right? And it's a matter of 3 feet.
It is
So
shocking how small those spaces really are when
yeah,
you
yeah,
when you get there. You're like, "Oh wow, it's just right
yeah,
here."
yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, a risk of what you're doing would seem to be, and maybe this is just me throwing a straw man risk at you, but like,
Throw it, do it.
I mean, like, there's a little bit of potentially cultural appropriation going on here. I mean, you just waltz into Austria and decide you're going to make like a Tyrolean gin and bring it back to the US. Well, la di da, right? So, like,
Well, yeah.
what do you
I
say
mean,
to
first,
that?
I don't think I've ever waltzed. I'm not that elegant a person. But yes, absolutely. There is a risk, and that is a very, very reasonable, logical question to throw our way. It's a big consideration. And I think over time, I've been asked this and I've thought about it a lot. Um, what we've done from the beginning and what we will always continue to do is to you not to like just perfectly rip off an existing spirit. We tend to go places and really try to learn about the history, the distillation, the practices, the traditions. But then we want to apply our own lens. We want to filter it through our own lens so that it feels very much still like something that we have made and not something that we took so much from this place. We didn't go there. We didn't like find something and just take it. I really feel like all of the spirits we make, we went there, we created something and we brought it back, or we, brought some of it back. And that's really important to me. And I think that's kind of the process or the part of the process that I'm most proud of. And I will most often try to highlight when people ask this very reasonable question is that it doesn't feel like we're just taking it and not showing any appreciation because we're really open about what we're doing and we are very appreciative of. I mean, this all comes from a love of distillation at its finest. It's at its best. Distillation is representative of the ingredients used to make that spirit. A lot of people don't necessarily respect the ingredients in their process. And also, to that end, we don't use any type of flavor, no artificial, no natural flavors. Everything is real whole ingredients. And I think that's important as well, is that everything is a illustration of the place that it came from. So, am I convinced that we're doing it perfectly and that we are totally, just skating by any accusations of any kind of cultural? I mean, I think cultural appropriation probably we're pretty clear because they're different spirits. But I think it's really good to think about. We're at least at the very base, we are using an industry or a local industry built up by others, and we are capitalizing on that. But I hope that in exchange, we are bringing much needed attention to that place and making people aware of it.
When you travel, and this could be distillery related or not, do you ever get into situations where you notice something or you're amazed by something, and or you're captivated by some small detail or some aspect of everyday life that seems like really mundane to the people, where they're like, oh, that's interesting to you? That's just noise to us. That like we don't even see that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, for sure. The gin production and living in Austria, that was just like next level. Their lifestyle, the way that they live their lives is incredible because they eat amazing food, like made by hand, homemade food every single day. And the whole entire distillery, which is a family run distillery, but there's quite a few people who work there. Every single person breaks and eats lunch together at a big table every single day. Every single day, all together. Nobody's at their desks. Everybody is at the table. Nobody has phones. Nobody has computers. They spend time. They spend that time at least together every single day and they eat amazing food. And then 2 hours later, they break again and they have coffee and they have some kind of gorgeous, rich, decadent dessert every single day. And of course, they are also very trim and all. They seem very healthy and
Yeah.
totally burn it off, but they have very late dinners too. But yeah, just seeing that was, I don't know, I loved that. That was beautiful. It was like such connection and such appreciation for good food and conversation daily, which is really nice.
So to me, this is important, and that's why maybe I identified the appropriation question as a bit of a straw man, because to me it's a straw man. I think, listen, I'm half Polish. Come and appropriate this shit out of that cuisine. Like, please,
Yeah.
somebody come and fix it. Like, I'm not going to say anything. Please appropriate my cuisine and make it a little bit better. The other half's not much better. It's French Canadian, so there's a little bit of French influence in there, but there's a lot of
A lot of
potatoes.
Canadian.
A lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
potatoes and pork. Come on,
Uh
somebody,
Poutine.
welcome into my cultures. Take it,
Yeah.
appropriate it, please.
Take it.
I'd like to see what you
Refine
do.
it.
So that's my stance on, like, I guess specifically food and drink, quote unquote, appropriation. But more importantly, I think the role of the visitor or the outsider, which is, you referenced earlier, hospitality. Hospitality
Yes.
involves
Hospitality.
outsiders. Like, taking outsiders onto the inside is literally the whole script of hospitality. But I think that's important to the definitions process, because, going back to these protected geographic indications, production style denominations of origin, I think it's very easy to start looking at those as bullet points or as rules and sub rules just on a written page and as boundaries drawn on an abstract political map, when really they're spaces that you can enter and landscapes that you can observe and interact with. And to me, I don't know, that observer and translator and ambassador aspect of what you're doing is way more interesting to me than, maybe not than the places, but it's interesting to me in that it seems like the role of Liba Spirits is that of translation, and as being almost like the lens through which we view these.
Very much so. I hope that that is what we're doing and doing in a very successful and respectful way. I think that the further we've gotten into this business and just the further I've gotten into actually producing spirits, the less interested I am in really adhering to very strict categorical designations.